They loved him like a hero until he became their worst nightmare. Imagine a ruler so powerful he declared himself a god, and no one could stop him. This is the story of Caligula, the emperor who turned Rome into a place of fear, madness, and blood in just 4 years. The rise of Caligula did not begin with madness. It began with admiration, with hope, and with a city desperate for something better. Rome had grown tired of fear. Under the rule of Emperor Tiberius, the empire had become cold and silent. People no longer spoke freely. Conversations turned into whispers, and trust had almost completely disappeared. No one knew who might betray them next. So when Gaius Caesar, known to history as Caligula, was declared emperor, everything changed. The streets filled with celebration. This was not just another ruler taking power. Caligula was the son of Germanicus, one of Rome's most beloved generals. His name alone carried respect, honor, and loyalty. To the people, Caligula wasn't just an emperor, he was hope. And in the beginning, he lived up to it. He smiled, he spoke with confidence, and he gave the people exactly what they wanted. He abolished harsh taxes, rewarded soldiers with generous bonuses, and organized grand games that filled the city with excitement. The arenas roared with life again, and Rome felt like it was finally breathing after years of suffocation. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. But perfection never lasts. Only a few months into his reign, Caligula fell seriously ill. No one knew exactly what had happened. Some believed it was a deadly fever, others whispered about poisoning. Whatever it was, it nearly killed him. Rome held its breath. Day after day, rumors spread through the streets. Some said he was already dead, others prayed desperately for his recovery. The empire stood still, waiting for news. And then he survived. But the man who returned was not the same. At first, the changes were small, almost unnoticeable. A colder expression, a strange silence where there used to be warmth. Those closest to him began to feel it before anyone else. Something was wrong. Caligula started to see threats everywhere. Conversations that once meant nothing now felt suspicious to him. A simple glance could be interpreted as disrespect. A quiet voice could be seen as a hidden insult. And in his world, suspicion was enough. Executions began quietly at first. A senator accused of betrayal, a wealthy citizen charged with treason. Their deaths were quick, but the message was clear. No one was safe. As time passed, the fear grew stronger. Caligula's paranoia began to consume him completely. He no longer trusted anyone, not his advisors, not the Senate, not even his own family. Power was changing him, or perhaps it was revealing who he truly was. Then came the moment that shocked Rome to its core. Caligula declared himself a god, not a symbol, not a representative, a god. Temples were ordered to be built in his honor. Statues of him were placed beside the greatest deities of Rome. He appeared in public dressed as Jupiter, Apollo, even Mercury, demanding that people bow before him. For many, this was beyond madness. It was something far more dangerous, because Caligula didn't just want power over Rome. He wanted control over reality itself. Stories about him spread rapidly, stories so strange they seemed impossible to believe. It was said that he once ordered his soldiers to march to the sea and declare war on it. They were told to stab the waves and collect seashells as trophies of victory. Some laughed at the story. Most did not, because by now, nothing felt impossible. Another story claimed he planned to appoint his horse Incitatus as a consul, one of the highest political positions in Rome. Whether this was meant as a joke, an insult, or a genuine decision, no one could say, but the message was clear. Caligula no longer respected the system. He was above it. Inside the palace, his behavior became even more disturbing. Banquets turned into terrifying performances. Guests were invited, but no one knew if they would leave alive. A simple mistake, a wrong word, a delayed reaction could lead to immediate punishment. Caligula enjoyed it. He enjoyed watching people fear him. He enjoyed reminding them that their lives existed only because he allowed it. The Senate, once a powerful force, had become nothing more than an audience. They laughed when he laughed. They agreed with everything he said. But behind their forced smiles, anger and fear grew stronger every day. Rome was no longer being ruled. It was being controlled by a man losing his grip on reality. And yet, no one acted, because acting meant dying. Caligula's reach was everywhere. His guards were loyal, his punishments were swift, and his paranoia never slept. Anyone who dared to speak against him disappeared. disappeared. Anyone who resisted was erased. Fear had taken complete control. But fear, when pushed far enough, begins to change. It turns into desperation, and desperation leads to action. A quiet conspiracy began to form in the shadows. Senators, officials, and even members of the Praetorian Guard started to realize the truth. There was no future under Caligula. This was not about politics anymore. It was about survival. They knew that as long as he lived, Rome would continue to suffer. So they made a decision. Caligula had to die. The plan was simple, but incredibly dangerous. They needed the perfect moment, an opportunity where he would be vulnerable, where his guards could not fully protect him. They waited, and finally, the moment came. In the year 41 AD, Caligula attended a public event inside the palace. The atmosphere seemed normal. Guards stood in position, officials moved through the corridors. Nothing appeared unusual, but beneath the surface, everything was already in motion. As Caligula walked through a narrow passageway, the conspirators moved into place. Time seemed to slow. One step, then another. Then suddenly, the first strike. Chaos erupted instantly. Blades flashed in the confined space. The attack was fast, brutal, and relentless. Caligula tried to react, but he was completely unprepared. Surrounded on all sides, he had nowhere to run. The emperor, who once held absolute power, was now powerless. The strikes continued until there was nothing left. And just like that, it was over. Caligula was dead. The man who had once been celebrated as Rome's greatest hope had become its darkest nightmare. And now that nightmare had finally ended. But the aftermath was just as brutal. His family was hunted down and killed to prevent any chance of revenge. The palace fell into chaos. No one knew what would happen next. Rome stood once again on the edge of uncertainty, and yet, beneath all the confusion, there was something else, relief, a deep, quiet relief that spread through the city. The fear was gone. The nightmare was over. Caligula's reign had lasted only 4 years, 4 years that began with celebration, with hope, with belief, and ended in blood, fear, and silence. To this day, historians still argue about the truth. Was Caligula truly insane? Was his mind broken by illness? Or were the stories exaggerated by those who survived him? We may never know the full truth, but one thing is certain: Caligula's story is not just about madness. It is a warning, because sometimes the most dangerous rulers are not the ones who rise through fear, but the ones who are loved first. Caligula's story didn't just end with his death. It left behind a warning. Power can change a man, but absolute power can destroy him. From a beloved leader to a symbol of fear, his fall reminds us how quickly everything can collapse. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my channel for more powerful stories like this.